Tft Set 8 Monsters Attack is finally here. In this video I'll just share some of my thoughts on the new traits and augments, but also on the set in general. But before we talk about Set 8, I'd like to take a quick look back on Set 7 and compare it to theme and gameplay wise. Set 7's theme was obviously dragons, and honestly, I think theme wise, just theme wise, that was the peak of TFT for me. Because, come on, dragons! Dragons are the second coolest thing ever, inferior only to dinosaurs, because dinosaurs actually existed. So unless we're getting a dinosaur set in the future, Dragonlance was better than Set 8, thematically. But that is of course entirely subjective, and the whole monsters attack thing Set 8 has going on is not too bad either. While scary monsters attacking a city which has to defend itself is not the most creative thing ever, I'd say the execution is still pretty good. It's obvious, but in a good way, because a strong, obvious theme makes a set memorable. While I, with my personal bias for dragons, felt like I enjoyed Dragonlance a lot more than other players, I must admit that it had its troubles. Especially Set 7, with its few dragons compared to 7.5, lacked in variety, and your success in a game was heavily decided by how early you hit a dragon. The mid-set update improved this by adding more dragons, so the issue with hitting one was combated, but a new issue arose, which was the sheer power of multiple dragons. While newcomers were able to find success some of the time, a 4-dragon board was nearly always the most desirable cap out for your board in Set 7.5, leading to, again, a lack of variety. Set 8 plays it safe here. No more extra strong units that require 2 team slots, no more triple trait value. We are going back to basics here. Standard 1 to 5 costs who all require 1 team slot. While I loved having mighty powerful dragons, I can greatly appreciate how this simplifies a lot of things. There were problems with swapping around units on a full dragon board because of the 1 slot mixed with 2 slots dynamic, which are obviously gone now, and in that regard the game feels more normal again. Another thing the power of dragons did was make reroll comms very rare. Well, after the asteroid changes at least. In late 7.5 we saw it resurface a little bit with Lilia, Karma and Kaiser. But overall Dragonlance probably had the least reroll comms. Correct me if I'm wrong here, I didn't play every set in TFT history. But reroll is back, baby! Woo! Send the shit down to 0, I don't give a fuck if my gameplay's more dog! Yeah, at least on paper Set 8 enables a lot of comp variety, but we'll see how the meta plays out. But that concludes my thoughts on Dragonlance, and we can move on to take a look at what Set 8 Monsters Attack brings to the table. The new traits of Set 8 have a way of sounding really complicated, but being easy to understand once you break it down and get a little bit of a feeling for them. I'm not going to talk about every trait, but I'd like to highlight some standouts and interesting ones. Mascots are the funniest shit ever. In a nutshell, they are a bunch of shitter units whose purpose it is to die, so your actual units heal themselves. But just look at what they do. I can't, bro. The TFT devs have truly outdone themselves. Recon is really cool. Once you have 2 or more of them, your recon units dash away from danger when someone comes too close, and they can do that all the time. Something about that feels so alive and action-packed. I don't know, I think watching recons on your board is satisfying as fuck. Is that weird? Am I weird? Whatever, I think this trait is cool. Oh, and they also gain crit chance, but nobody cares. Sing, sing, dash, phew! One of the aforementioned really complicated traits, but I can't even lie, this one is actually complicated. I think the best way to explain it is if I show you real quick. So, we field 2 admin for the first time. Now we get this little menu with 3 options. At first, it is explained when the effect will proc. So here, every 5 seconds, at 40% health, or on kill. Then the effect is explained. When you field for admin, you can choose another effect. And at first I was really confused because there's so little explanation when this effect will proc, but then I learned the second effect has the same trigger as the first one. And then 6 admin just increases the effects. Pretty complicated, but a cool trait because you can decide what your team or carry needs the most and build around that. Gadgeting. Gadgeting is pretty interesting. They craft an item every round which self-destructs after 1 round, so you always have a powerful item, but you don't know which one it will be. At first I thought this was super OP, but then my mate pointed out how 2 of the 3 gadgeting units are shitter 1 costs, so especially later on that's a significant disadvantage for just 1 item. Unless you get to 5 gadgetines, then you get 2 items, but I'd say that's rare. Still, I think early on gadgetines are really good and can help you win streak. I'm excited to see how gadgetines will perform in the meta, but right now it doesn't really seem like they'll be one of the top comps or something. Laser Corps sounds so complex. They have this big ass paragraph of text here and it's just too much. But then you realize it's just drone go pew 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 and it's not that bad. This is what I meant when I said reroll is back. Supers is literally designed to make you play low cost reroll comps. The buff is straightforward but effective. Your entire team gets percentage damage and for every 3-star you have, it's increased. Great! Threats are the successors to dragons. Powerful late game units, free costs and upwards, strong abilities. But instead of granting 3 of a trait, they grant 0 traits. At all. They literally don't have a trait. I think that's super weird. It literally goes against the concept of TFT. Still, I think they made it work. As compensation for not giving any trait bonuses, they have powerful abilities. And oh boy, that's not a lie, at least for the 4 costs and 5 costs. Aurelion Sol is budget Ao Shin, but even a budget Ao Shin is still Ao Shin. Rip your entire board. Belveth is the definition of a hyper carry. Zac is probably the best unit this set when it comes to solo tanking. Fiddlesticks is insanity and has the coolest ability this set. And Urgot does a fuck ton of damage, has AoE CC and can farm your items. Bro. Underground is the new luck, mercenary, pirates, fortune, lose streak, high risk, high reward trade. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that these are always my favorite. Underground has one major difference though, because you can actually see what you're getting once you've completed a heist, and then decide whether you can afford to continue the heist and get even better loot, or if you just take what you get. Now, on one hand, this is a cool concept, and I like how you have to calculate the risks of going for another heist. The transparency of knowing your reward also makes Underground a little bit easier to balance. While it is still RNG, it is definitely less RNG than other iterations of a high risk, high reward trade. On the other hand, this transparency and balance makes Underground just a tiny bit less exciting. You may not want to hear it, but RNG is one of the things that gives TFT its super high replay value. RNG is simply fun. And there was something about the thrill of lose streaking with mercenaries and having to keep that lose streak while also not knowing what your reward will be. With Underground, the actual excitement of getting the reward is a little bit less, because you yourself chose the reward already. But overall, still fun as fuck, and of course it's good when something is balanced better. I'm just saying, there was a plus side to the more RNG based stuff too. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about augments. While Set 8 reworks and removes some of the augments of Set 7, the most notable thing are the new hero augments. I'd argue they are the most exciting thing about Monster's Attack, because they are truly something never seen before. Now, what makes hero augments so exciting? How they work is, one of your augments will not be your usual silver, gold or prismatic, but instead be a hero augment. Or this will not happen and you will just have your usual lame game of TFT, but that's really the exception. Hero augments either boost the hero unit greatly, or give your team bonuses as long as you field the hero unit. The cool thing is, there are hero augments for every unit in the game. And because hero augments are very important and powerful, every shitter unit can suddenly become your most important unit or even your carry. And that is something I absolutely love. Because one of the most magical things in TFT to me is playing wacky, unusual and unsuspecting units. Seeing things like Lulu or Fiora carry actually work was just so much fun. I'm super excited to see what tubers come up from streamers making the most random units their hyper carry and actually succeeding. And of course, I myself am excited to see what wacky or cool hero augments I might base my comp around in the future of this set. So, all in all, there's some very exciting stuff coming to TFT this set, and we'll see how the meta plays out. What are your thoughts on the new set? Do you have a rank goal for the season? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, a like or subscribe would support me greatly, and see you in the next one.